Hi, ArcfieldWeather.com meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Wednesday morning, June the 19th. Several topics I'd like to discuss this morning, ranging from the latest on the sun, the latest on sea surface temperatures around the world, and the continuation of an active weather pattern that includes some tropical activity for places like Texas and Mexico, and very warm weather conditions in the central and eastern states, but cooler in the Pacific Northwest. Let's start off with a look at a late image, a current image of the sun, and the first thing that pops out, indeed, there are a couple of large sunspot regions right now that are pretty much facing the Earth. So any kind of a coronal mass ejection, let's say over the next 12 to 24 hours or so, could in fact have an impact on the Earth's upper atmosphere, since these are facing the Earth quite square on right now. But to me, the most interesting part about this latest image of the sun is look at all this area out here where there's virtually spotless in this part of the sun, and all of these rotate in this fashion. So in a few days or so, looks like we'll have a very quiet sun, and we'll see if something pops up, moves in from the western limb of the sun. But right now, curiously, as we approach the solar maximum during solar cycle 25, we have what looks like maybe kind of a quiet period on the sun. Again, once these large sunspot regions rotate out of the way, it may be a virtually spotless sun. And we haven't had a spotless sun for any day in 2024, 2023, and I believe only one day back in 2022. Again, we're heading towards the solar maximum phase of solar cycle 25, which could occur later this year or early in 2025. So this will be quite interesting to see if indeed we have a spotless sun over the next week or two. Now let's take a look at the latest sea surface temperature anomalies around the world. First of all, we've talked about the demise of El Nino in the tropical Pacific Ocean and the rise of La Nina, and indeed that continues to take place here. Colder than normal conditions right along the equatorial region of the Pacific Ocean, ranging from the west coast of South America all the way out to near the central part of the Pacific Ocean. This will continue to cool down relative to normal over the next several weeks, and that will be your La Nina for the bulk of the hurricane season in the Atlantic Basin. Again, this is generally a favorable condition for tropical activity in the Atlantic Basin because it tends to be correlated with less wind shear than normal in the Atlantic Ocean, in the tropical part of the Atlantic Ocean. So this developing, intensifying La Nina, again, should be favorable for tropical activity. And again, we issued our tropical outlook a few months ago. We expect an above normal season in the Atlantic Basin. Now, let me kind of clear the deck here and just point out another kind of an interesting feature here that I noticed. The Pacific Ocean as a whole, right in this part of the world here, there's quite a few areas that are below normal. We again have this developing La Nina here, farther to the south in what sometimes is referred to as a Southern Ocean, a lot of colder than normal conditions, and kind of an arc here of colder than normal conditions south of Alaska and near the all the way to the southwest coast of the U.S., kind of encircling an above normal area. So this is also kind of an interesting thing we'll continue to monitor over the next few months here to see if the Pacific Ocean as a whole continues to cool down. Now, a couple other areas of interest here. First of all, right here, kind of an interesting area of colder than normal water temperatures here just off the west coast of Africa. That, if it continues, would be an inhibiting factor to the development of tropical storms that tend to develop here in the eastern part of the Atlantic Ocean this time of the year. So we'll continue to monitor that. Meanwhile, the rest of the tropical Atlantic, all the way in this region, all the way to the Gulf of Mexico, remains above normal. That likely will remain above normal. It's been above normal really for quite a long time, several years now, in the breeding grounds of the Atlantic Ocean. So a few different areas of interest here with respect to sea surface temperature patterns, and we'll continue to monitor that over the next several weeks. First of all, La Nina that is intensifying now in the equatorial part of the Pacific Ocean. The remaining warmer than normal conditions across the bulk of the tropical Atlantic, but right here off the west coast of Africa, a pocket of colder than normal water has developed, and that could have an inhibiting effect on tropical activity over the next couple of months. Well, let's now get back to the continental U.S. Here is a look at the 0Z run of the ensemble version of the European with respect to 500 millibar height anomalies. And we talked about this Monday's video, a very warm pattern for much of the eastern and central states, dominated by high pressure in the mid and upper parts of the atmosphere, with a focus over the southeastern part of Canada, northern part of New England. That can lead to where we're experiencing now some very warm conditions all the way from the central states into the eastern seaboard. Meanwhile, out across the interior west, cooler than normal conditions, an upper level low. They had some snow across places like Idaho, Montana, Wyoming. It'll remain relatively cool places like Seattle over the next several days with this upper level pattern. Now, continue to move forward here, and we talked about on Friday that this upper level ridge across the northeastern states will tend to flatten from north to south, and the peak of the heat, for example, in New York City, may be on Thursday and Friday, and then kind of a backtracking by the time we get to Saturday. Whereas farther south in D.C., it remains quite hot right through the upcoming week, and Friday, Saturday, and Sunday likely being the peak heat days in D.C. during this particular warm spell. Here, again, kind of a flattening. We'll have to deal with perhaps a backdoor cool front that could increase the chance for showers and thunderstorms in the northern mid-Atlantic region by later Friday night. We'll talk about that over the next couple of minutes here. But here we go into the day on Friday, and then by the time we get to the upcoming weekend, the upper level ridge tends to weaken some. Again, we have a couple of different frontal systems that will increase the chance of showers and thunderstorms in the Mid-Atlantic region for that Friday afternoon, evening period, and Saturday and Sunday and Monday as well, as the frontal system will kind of get hung up in at least the southern and middle portions of the Mid-Atlantic region by the early part of next week. And here we go into Sunday, and here is what spells some relief in the Great Lakes and even into the northeastern part of the nation by early next week. Kind of a weak front, but it should have enough strength to bring in a little bit of cooling into the Great Lakes and northeastern states by the time we get to Monday and Tuesday of next week. Now let's run through the conventional version of the GFS from last night at 0Z with respect to the surface forecast maps. And I kind of want to look at maybe three different areas of the country and set these maps in motion just to kind of highlight different regions at different times here. For this particular set of runs, and let me fix this right here, we'll kind of focus in on the potential tropical activity. More than potential, there actually is a tropical wave right now here in the southwestern part of the Gulf of Mexico. Now, let's move forward here and just again monitor this region here. One wave moves into Mexico, and then another tropical wave enters in that same region. So Mexico and Texas will indeed be impacted by some heavy rainfall over tropical activity over the next several days. And in our tropical outlook, we focused attention on the Gulf of Mexico and the Caribbean Sea for those areas that I believe will be most active during this 2024 tropical season. In fact, let's take a look at that right now before we move on here. To go to that tropical outlook, just go to the Arcfield Weather homepage, go to Outlooks and then Seasonal Outlooks, and you'll find this tropical outlook here. And I'll just kind of scroll through here quickly. The important map that I featured in this particular, in the tropical outlook that we put out a few months ago, right here, you can see that this is kind of a climatology of La Nina Atlantic hurricane seasons with a lot of above normal activity in this part of the Atlantic basin, specifically the Gulf of Mexico down to the Caribbean Sea. And this particular area is what is very active right now. We had this wave starting off right here over the southwestern Gulf of Mexico, the Bay of Campeche region, just to the west of the Yucatan Peninsula portion of Mexico. And it looks like be a second, maybe even a third wave in this same region over the next several days. So again, we kind of talked about the Gulf of Mexico being one of those regions that could be very active during this, what I expect to be an above normal season in the Atlantic Basin. Now let's get back to the current map here, and I kind of want to walk through another part of the country here. This is beginning the day today here on a Wednesday, and we'll just set this in motion and focus in on the western part of the nation. Let's do that right now. You notice here kind of a thermal low popping up at times across Nevada and California. This is indeed and not unusual this time of the year. Very hot weather. Places like Phoenix could be 110 to 115 degrees over the next several days. Even LA will get up to the mid and upper 80s during the upcoming weekend with very little chance of rain. Maybe into central Arizona there could be a little bit of rain over the next several days, but basically from Phoenix to LA, hot, dry conditions over the next several days, but cooler conditions remain over the Pacific Northwest. Seattle, for example, looks like a very pleasant next several days. Now, let's get back to the beginning of the time frame here, and we'll go through the northeastern part of the nation here. And here we'll have a few different frontal systems to deal with. This is the forecast map as we begin the day here on Wednesday. Now, let's move forward here. And you notice up across the Great Lakes, kind of a daily threat of showers and thunderstorms in the eastern Great Lakes and maybe the northwestern perimeter of New England, western New York over the next few days. Now, by the time we get into the day on Friday, and here's the Friday morning forecast map, there may be a backdoor cool front that pushes to the south and west that could have an impact on New York City and perhaps even a little bit farther south and west of there. And one thing it'll do is increase the chance of showers and thunderstorms later Friday afternoon into Friday night across the northern mid-Atlantic. That's places like northern New Jersey, New York City, maybe even down to the Philadelphia metro region. Again, later Friday night, could have a break in the rain-free conditions from the last several days with that backdoor cool front. Again, increasing chances for PM showers and thunderstorms later in the day and evening on Friday. Probably not going to help with the dry conditions south of the Mason-Dixon line. In other words, DC, probably not going to see any shower thunderstorm activity late Friday, but their chance comes late in the upcoming weekend. Here we then go into the upcoming weekend, and there'll be kind of a repeat performance with a chance of showers and thunderstorms, primarily northern mid-Atlantic region, later Saturday night, maybe an isolated shower or thunderstorm down across DC. Now, the best chance in the mid-Atlantic region comes late Sunday. And here we go, Sunday night, and we talked about that. A little bit of a relief, a little bit of a cooler air mass dropping south and east across the Great Lakes. This frontal system right in here by late in the day on Sunday can spark some showers, maybe some strong to potentially severe thunderstorms in the mid-Atlantic region. Late Sunday night remains pretty hot through the day on Sunday. Then that front will kind of lose its push, and it's located right here early Monday morning, and it kind of hangs around, and it'll keep conditions unsettled in the mid-Atlantic region with the potential of showers and thunderstorms continuing from late Sunday night into the day on Monday in the mid-Atlantic region. Certainly temperatures can trend downward Monday and Tuesday of next week, probably to the mid and upper 80s, places like Philly, New York City, again on Monday and Tuesday of next week, maybe holding at 90 or 92 degrees by the time we get to Monday in DC, and then that upper level ridge kind of backs off for just a brief period, builds back into the east and central U.S. later next week, so we'll have a return to the very warm weather conditions. So we kind of went through several topics here today, from the sun to the sea surface temperatures to tropical activity, and the southwestern states hot, hot, hot over the next several days, and an increasing chance of showers and thunderstorms in the mid-Atlantic region by the time we get to later Friday night, and through the upcoming weekend and into the early part of next week, as this very warm weather pattern continues for the central and eastern states. That's it for now. For ArcfieldWeather.com, this has been meteorologist Paul Dorian.